very famous Spanish writer, Calderón de la Barca, said, life's a dream. And just a few minutes ago, I was in a small room, like a little fly in the corner, watching Sir Ben Kingsley and Martin Scorsese and Leonard Maltin talking to each other, and I said, yes, you know, for us film lovers, life is a dream. Tonight we salute an American icon, maverick director, screenwriter, producer, actor, and film historian, a filmmaker who does not condescend or compromise. The genius we're celebrating tonight has always remained true and faithful to his own vision. His films are immersed with cinematic potency and cinematic virtuosity. Since the early 70s, he's given us such classics like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, The Departed, and many others. But I was deeply moved to see that this giant of the cinema does not rest on his laurels. And in this past year, we were given his most personal film to date. His newest cinema masterpiece, Hugo, an homage to this director's favorite art that has just been nominated for an outstanding 11 Oscars. And his star, Ben Kingsley, is here with us this evening. I have, of course, been speaking of Scorsese. I don't need to mention his first name, just like I only need to mention Hitchcock, Fellini, Kubrick, Polanski, Bergman, Kurosawa. He's one of the greats who continues to push the limits of cinema. Welcome to the 27th Santa Barbara International Film Festival presented by Lynda.com. We'd like to thank Daniel Gibbons Jewelry for the custom design of tonight's American Riviera Award. And tonight's American Riviera Award is sponsored by Bridlewood State Winery. Now I would like to introduce the moderator of this evening, a longtime family member of Santa Barbara International Film Festival. He's a cinematic institution all by himself. He's a film critic, a historian, and author of several popular books on cinema. Please welcome my dear friend Leonard Maltin.
I'm delighted to be here, as I always am, at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. And I'm very excited about tonight because I get to sit on stage and talk to someone who I know loves to talk too. So we're not going home early tonight, guys. Let's just get that settled right now. But then, as Sidney Greenstreet says in The Maltese Falcon, as Casper Gutman, I like to talk to a man who likes to talk. So, I don't like dating myself, but it's unavoidable in this case. It's just about 40 years ago that I, as a very young man, went to the movie theater, the Rialto movie theater in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, to be specific, and saw a movie, the likes of which I'd never seen before, called Mean Streets. And I'll never forget that night. It is burnished in my memory forever. Because I had not seen anything, I'd never experienced anything quite like that at the movies before. So many of those scenes stay with me, always. I'd never seen Robert De Niro before. I didn't know who this guy was, I just believed him. And he's a frighteningly real character, and frightening, period. And where did they find this guy? Who was this guy? I'm not sure I'd seen Harvey Keitel before either. Just a film that just struck so many raw nerves. And that's what put Scorsese's name on my radar. Now, had I been paying closer attention, I would have realized that he he'd also been very deeply involved in another film that blew me away, Woodstock, 2 years earlier. The most extraordinary concert film of its time, of its generation. So, needless to say, you know, it's been an incredible journey since then. But since we're talking about somebody who has such great knowledge and interest in film history, I was thinking about something today. Some of the directors that Mr. Scorsese admires and reveres, as many of us do, John Ford, Howard Hawks, Frank Capra, William Wellman, we could name a lot of great American directors, who, when they reached a certain age and had been working in Hollywood for 30 years or more, were no longer doing their best work. I'm not trying to be unkind, I'm just stating the truth. Their later years were not their most fruitful. Here's Marty Scorsese, 40 years on, having just made one of the best films of his career, and a man who brims over with vitality and creativity, and shows no sign of stopping, and goodness knows we don't want him to stop. So here's a man at the peak of his powers, the absolute peak of his powers right now, and so much more to come. Why? Well, I think it has to do with certain words that come to mind. Passion, knowledge, integrity, and curiosity. Those are all great qualities. He has them all. He has them all in abundance. I think it's what makes him such a great filmmaker. And if you need a reminder of why we're celebrating him tonight, and it can always be a little refresher, let's take a look at a montage of Martin Scorsese's work.
Please welcome Martin Scorsese. Got our 3D glasses just in case.
Very good. Always handy.
As Miss Ray.
Always handy.
Some cards.
There's some problem. I shouldn't go there prematurely. We'll get to 3D in good time. All in good time. So what you been doing lately? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Is it harder to make a film or to stay on the awards circuit for 2 months?
Well, it has become, you know, I go back to 1970, and when the film opened, there were really no premieres the way you know now on red carpet, except if it was Around the World in 80 Days, or Giant, or Ben-Hur, or Cleopatra, and a few others I'm sure, but we would just go on a Sunday, whatever it was, the day it opened, we'd stand in the back of the theater and watch the audience. We'd go and see if anybody was blind and was online to go to the theater, you know, like Cinema One or the Coronet in New York and that sort of thing. So and then we'd go for like Chinese food and, you know, whatever. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
And it was in one theater.
One theater, yes.
Yeah. And a carefully selected theater like Cinema One.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
It's not on 3,000 or 5,000.
No. So therefore you had a line, which was interesting. You had some people. And don't forget the line. I didn't think Taxi Driver was going to be a popular film, and because we were so passionate, we had to make this thing and straight a script, you know. I'll never forget that Sunday when it opened. I think Paul Schrader called me, said, "Marty, go to Cinema One, take a look at the line that's formed." I couldn't believe it. You know, we just stood across the street and watched. It was quite something.
And again, people got turned away in those days too. They couldn't get into the 2 o'clock show. They might have to wait for the 4 o'clock or the 4:30 show. I mean, it was a whole different ritual of going to the movies. And surely you remember. I don't want to turn this into memory lane tonight. I really don't.
Yes.
But there is an expression that people of a certain generation, a lot of you will know. This is where we came in.
Oh, that's right. Never saw a film from the beginning. You only walk in the middle. Even Vertigo, I walked in the middle.
Yeah.
It was a vestibule. Projected. It was at the Capitol Theater. Projected a vestibule. It didn't matter. It was amazing. But we walked in. This is where we came in. No, let's watch a little more, right?
Yeah. Even a double feature. You come into the middle of the second feature, watch that through, watch all of the first feature, the trailers, the cartoon, the coming attractions, and then the first feature would start, and at a certain point my mom and dad would say, oh, this is where we came in.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because structurally the films, you try, oh, that's what that meant. And today, you look at it as indefensible behavior. I know.
But that's what we all did.
Yeah. It's amazing. But so the award circuit now has become very, very, it's very arduous in a way, and it's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
You just have to breathe, to speak. Yeah, it's a high-class problem to have. So, but that's been in the past, for me, past 10 years, I think, since Gangs in New York. Yeah. Prior to that, it was I think, what was it? Goodfellas we did a lot, I think, but there were no premieres. Basically went around the world and, I don't know, I think we had to go to Japan for it. No, Raging Bull we did.
You've talked a lot about your childhood and the circumstances that led you to become a movie lover, a movie nut, if you will. And you've spoken often about some of those vivid childhood memories, as well as the memories of observing your neighborhood, observing the people around you, which of course stood you in good stead for many years after that. But one thing I wanted to know, because I never heard you speak about this, is when you felt, was there a moment that you said, as a young man now, yes, I can do this, I'm going to be able to make a living in the movie business?
Well, you used the word living. Make a living. No, I never said that.
No.
But
I mean, you were teaching at NYU.
I was an instructor, in 69 and 70. But there was a time, because of the asthma, and look, the reality of that's what it was. I had asthma. I was born in 42. I got it in 45. And I was kind of holed up in a way. I could never do any sports or couldn't run or laugh too much because you get spasms. You get kids get hysterical, and then they turn blue. So that's So I was constantly, and they didn't know what else to do with me, so they took me to the movies. But it was a working class family. Reading was not a habit. It was really visual, and so by that time I literally. It was late 40s, early 50s. There were no independent films made in New York. Very few. I mean, Fear and Desire and a few Last of Silence, maybe. But by 59, when I realized I was in a preparatory seminary, I was finally, after 1 year, asked to leave. I wasn't serious in my work, I guess. And, I still harbor the idea of priesthood. Because that was that's where it comes from.
It's not a joke.
It's not a joke. That was the height of the Catholic Church in New York, 1950s, and there was this priest there, young priest who's still alive now, who made a major difference in my life and would straighten us out. They'd tell us, well, why are you thinking like that? That sort of thing. You don't have to live like this. He was about 24, 25 years old, and we were 14 or 15 or so. And I saw that he made a difference. Not the older priests were more Italian-American, dealing with the older, the immigrants who first came over. So they were kind of detached from us. But this was a new energy. And he really made sense compared to what else was around me. And at the same time, I was seeing these films, many different films. I'd get Q Magazine, I'd see this place called the Thalia Theater, and it was showing something called Alexander Nevsky. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. I just go in the middle, of course.
Yeah.
Right in the Battle on the Ice. I walk into the Battle on the Ice. Yeah. Stunned. Yeah. The Yiddish films by Jacob Ben-Ami and the great,
Edgar Allan.
Edgar Allan. Yeah. And so, but then at that time too, I was making drawings by myself, little drawings, things like storyboards, I guess they call them, and making up my own stories and trying to work with my friends. We didn't have cameras. But then we saw Shadows, and that's what did it. Shadows, John Cassavetes. That's what did it, because at that point people said, well, you can't make a film, it takes too much money, the equipment's too big, and that sort of thing. Well, this had raw emotion, also dealing with a bohemian lifestyle, which is very alien for me. I was on the East Side, not the West Side of Manhattan. We were Italian, Neapolitan, Sicilians. And I was sort of in between that old village, Sicilian village mentality, and this new world called America, But on the West Side, was really something. I was only 6 blocks west on Houston Street, and it was another world. And that came out of there. When we saw it that night at the 8th Street Playhouse in New York, afterwards we went to have coffee, and we said, that's it. I mean, there's no more excuses. I can't do it, it costs too much. Look at that. Look at the use of the camera. The camera was so flexible, it was an eclair. And you were able to move the camera very quickly, and the technique, the style, and the quality it became another style and quality. And so that spurred us on, that and the cool world, Shirley Clark,
So, there's too many questions.
Well, I guess at that same time I was beginning to take film courses at NYU.
Right.
But that was not the NYU of today.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
So you started teaching a little bit. You started working.
That's about a year. That's a few years later.
Yeah. But that's right. I'm jumping ahead a little too far. You started learning some of the tools, some of the craft.
Yes, and making short films in '63 and '64. And the films got some notice, got some awards and some scholarships. And by '67, I did a film called The Big Shave,
Right.
which got some notice, and that really pushed it. And we're also trying our first feature called Who's That Knocking, which took from 1965 to '69 to finish, on and off. Trying with the bigger cameras at first and realizing, no, we've got to go with the smaller ones, the more flexible ones, and reshooting, rewriting. And that finally came out in '69 when I was helping on Woodstock. And I was an instructor at the same time.
Right.
So all that came together by '69.
So now you have a feature that actually opened in a theater in New York, and then you were working on Woodstock
As an editor, yeah.
which was going to be a major studio release. Warner Brothers was releasing that, and you had a hand in that, a big hand in that. But did you say to yourself at any time, I could make a living? This is how I'm going to.
We don't have to make a living. We just knew that we had to make movies.
Yeah.
And again, it was this fascination with an image that moved. There's something about telling a story with this image that moves, whether it's celluloid, which we know is no longer the case ultimately, digital, or whatever comes down the pipe in the next 10 years, because we're at a major change now. But there was that impulse to tell that story and to reach out to the audience the way it was when I saw those early films of my family, and the stories around me too, about my family and about the people I knew in that neighborhood.
Well, all right, one random question. Pardon me on this one, okay? Is it true, sir, that when you showed your NYU class, John Ford's The Searchers, you arrived in cowboy garb?
Okay, you see, these are how these things happen. Thank goodness that. It's 1969. We're all in Greenwich Village, where everybody had long hair, right? That's 1969. 65, you started wearing your hair long. Some kids had beards, and I loved Westerns, and I got my first pair of jeans after being at Woodstock on stage, because I was Italian American, wear jeans, you had slacks, And so, I even wore cufflinks up to Woodstock. I lost Columbus. I was on that stage 4 days and 4 nights while they were shooting, and Thelma was there. It was like you know. But like after that, I liked, you know, there was the leather vest from the Leather Hamlet. I don't know if you remember it in LA. Well, actually it was in New York, that one, but jeans and even, I must say, cowboy boots. Yeah. Oh, I still got it. Can't wear them anymore.
Yeah.
Can't wear them. Directed Mean Streets in them. You know.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they were comfortable. And they were, you know, it was also LA. I was moving to LA. I was going to move to LA, and LA is different. LA is not Manhattan. And, you know, let me put it this way: you could go out there and maybe become a film director, a different kind of film director, which was more like, you know, the studio contract director. Of course, those days were way gone. I didn't realize it. Of course, I'm a different kind of director, so a different kind of filmmaker. But at that same time, I sort of embraced the, I had to learn how to drive, which I don't do anymore, don't worry. And, you know, cowboy clothes and nudies. Went to nudies, got clothes and nudies, not spangles and, you know, not rhinestones, but, and no fringe, but, you know.
Piping, some piping.
Piping,
Yes.
piping.
Yeah.
That's why, are you kidding, the piping? Roy Rogers wore those shirts.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Great stuff.
Fantastic. No, but that's what I really like it. And also the idea, too, that I was changing. I didn't know. I was trying to, I don't know who I was. I knew Mean Streets, that was me, but those are stories of Mean Streets and other stories that were in my head at the time that became other films that, quite honestly, in that decade, my parents were still living in downtown New York, and they were being stopped by people saying, you know, your son put that in the film, that's not right. You know, so-and-so got this and that. And so I had to be careful. I said, oh, I'm a director, I didn't come from there, you see. And then by the time we did Raging Bull, it didn't matter.
We're going to start with a generous clip from Mean Streets.
Oh, Mean Streets, yeah.
And what's the almost the cliche advice people give to young writers? Write what you know. And so for you as a young artist, a young filmmaker, you know, make a story about what you know. You knew this.
Yes, no, this is pretty much based on real incidents, and especially the shooting at the end, which we had missed just by luck. We left the car. My friend and I said, let's go home, this is ridiculous. And we went home, they got shot.
Yeah.
For nothing. For an incident.
We'll talk more after the clip. Let's watch a selection from Mean Streets.
That's, I mean, quickly, that jumping jack flash, the slow motion, the red, and all, that's all written in the script. That of course, they improvise the Abbott and Costello routine of why. The idea of the scene you just saw really came from De Niro in rehearsal, because he said, listen, we have to see how he gets around Charlie. And he has to show the charm of the guy, and that's all, I mean, he used the word charm, but how he does it. And so we came up with some stories, and Harvey played off of that. But basically, it was the last day of shooting, we had to squeeze it in, and it was only 26 days shooting, so we squeezed it in an hour and a half. I said, okay, Howard Hawks, that's it. From American shot, right below the knees, up. Wide shot, over the shoulder, that's it. And it shot an hour and a half. And I remember I had gotten the notes of that day from the rehearsal. And Bob just had to wing it. He said, oh my God, you're sure? I said, I know, but we were so busy. It was so crazy. But he then pulled that out of the air. And that's basically the truth. That's pretty much the way we were living. I was going to NYU at the same time. And there were other friends of mine, by the way, not like that, didn't do that. They were at Fordham University and other places, and but there were different groups, you see.
Man, the first time I read the following fact that I'm going to drop, it hit me like a bombshell. It's not a surprise to you, you were there. This movie was shot in Los Angeles.
Yes.
This quintessential New York movie was shot 3,000 miles away.
I probably never should have said that. The thing about it is that we wanted to make it so badly, and then I got hired by Roger Corman to do Boxcar Bertha, which is an exploitation film. And I learned how to make a picture in 24 days, you know, from 6 in the morning to 10 at night in Arkansas, Camden, Arkansas, with trains, a period piece. And yes, it was exploitation, wonderful. That's when I first met Barbara Hershey and David Carradine. And it was really a wonderful experience because I didn't get fired. It was amazing. I used to get fired over everything. Prior to that, I was always trying to do something and then people wanted it a different way. I didn't know how. I tried and it was very awful. But that's how the failures, the doors closing with a key because it left me to one place. And when I did the exploitation film, I worked with Corman's crew. And there was a guy named Paul Rapp, and he told me, he said, if you want to do this Mean Streets, we could do it here for a very, very little amount of money. And Jonathan Taplin was the gentleman who brought in the money, $650,000, I think it was. And he said, we could do it, but you'd have to do it, you'd have to fake a lot of it in LA. Can you do that? And so I worked it out. I went every day down to downtown Los Angeles, 3rd Street, all those places. And basically, we shot in New York about 8 or 9 days, day and night for the first week. And then came back to LA, to California, did the rest. Brought the actors over, cast people from here, the bars in LA, but the exteriors on Mulberry Street. You know, all of that. And I mean, Bobby De Niro shoots a gun on the roof at the Empire State Building and hits a window in Los Angeles.
But that's the illusion of movie making. Yeah. That's the most incredible.
Yeah, it's Kuleshov.
Yeah, exactly, right. Whatever you tell the audience that they're seeing, that's what they're seeing.
That's what they think they're seeing. Yeah. The thing about it is really the spirit of it and the nature, the behavior of the actors, the behavior of the people in the film, because it's a lot of non-actors in there too. And so that really, as long as that captured that New York spirit.
Well, you sure did. Now, the next clip we're going to see, and I should add that this selection tonight came from you.
Yeah, yes.
And so if you don't write me angry letters about why didn't we show this film, or why didn't we show clips from that film,
sorry,
you can blame the filmmaker, all right? Passing the buck firmly in that direction.
I mean, the clip you just saw is a good example, I think, of, you know, working and trusting the actors.
Yeah.
Really trusting them at that point.
And then trusting each other, too.
Yes, exactly, between the two of them.
Yeah. So the next one we're going to see is your
Italian
early and deeply felt documentary, Italian American. So here we had a sort of a dramatization, somewhat fictionalization of real events and real people you knew, and the turfs that you knew so well. And now you're doing it in documentary form. What inspired you to make this?
It was 1976, and the National Endowment was doing a series called A Storm of Strangers about all the different immigrant groups, and I was asked to do one on the Italians. They were doing one on Greeks, on Irish, on Jewish, on Chinese, and I said I was interested, but I said, what if we don't do it like a conventional documentary? What if we just go to my mother and father's apartment and have lunch or dinner? And I asked these questions about where they came from. I mean, where they how they were living back in 1912, 1913, 1920, 1921, and all that sort of thing. And we just eat. And take 16 cameras and shoot there. Now, they had just moved across the street from the building that I grew up in, 253. After 25 years, they moved across the street to a renovated building. So these, what you see in here, and also they changed their furniture. This became really the plastic seat covers, the whole thing. Murder. I mean, the colors are so garish. But believe me, in the 253, it wasn't that way. It was a little different. But we just wanted to deal with how, who they were, really. I didn't know that the moment I turned on the camera, that in a sense they would just take it and go and take over. Where I learned a lot. Just shut up, keep your mouth shut, try to get in there, try to get what you can, and if it means somebody talking straight for a half hour without a cut, that's cinema, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's more reality than some of what passes for reality.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at Italian American.